Hello there. In this video I'm going to teach you how to perform the Pilates lift and lower. Now while it's not a very creative title for an exercise because it does exactly what you end up doing during the exercise, the lift and lower is one of the side-lying sequence for Pilates, and therefore it comes with a number of challenges, but also comes with a sense of nice variation, enjoyment, and certainly with regards to side-lying exercises in general, which seek to utilize what's known as the lateral sling, all the muscles going up the side of your body. It can give you the opportunity to really get into some lovely creative movements and perhaps a little bit more in keeping with what people think about when they think of mat work Pilates. Now, the lift and lower is a kind of entry-level exercise, and it's really there to give that nice variation in some of your mat work, but also it serves as a kind of preparatory level for some of those more advanced exercises. So it's going to be lying on your side. I've done a video on preparation for side lying exercises, which is well worth having a look at if you're not sure, because a little bit of prep goes a long way. Exercises like this are not going to be appropriate for people who've got acute pathologies in the lateral hip, so particularly anything with regards to lateral hip pain, trochanteric pain syndrome, trochanteric bursitis, or just that more diffuse lateral hip pain which is characterized with gluteal tendinopathies. So if you're not sure whether that applies to you, really if you give this a go and you find that there's an acute onset of pain in that lateral hip, or there's exquisite feeling of kind of burning or that really uncomfortable stabbing pain in the outside of the hip, or you try something like this and very shortly afterwards it becomes really uncomfortable, then that's all an absolute kind of no-no, really. I mean, it goes without saying. But if you're going to perform these kind of long lever exercises, which we'll go through in a moment, make sure that you don't have any of those concerns, because you really need to do a lot of prep work before coming into this level. So there's the kind of caveats over. Let's get on with the tutorial for the lift and lower. So the full extended side lying position is the start for the lift and lower. You want to be in a neutral spinal alignment, so thinking about that little gap underneath the waistline and activating your deep abdominal muscles and pelvic floor, your core, to help facilitate keeping neutral throughout. We're going to think about the Pilates principle of dissociation of movement for this exercise. And to start with, I'm going to show you how to perform your lift and lower. Take a breath in to prepare, and then breathe out to lift the top leg, and breathe in to lower. It's that simple. Exhaling on the way up, inhaling on the way down. As you're performing your lift and lower, try to get a beautiful smooth movement pattern to that top leg. And sometimes it's helpful to imagine that you're moving the gesture leg through treacle or something, so that you're getting that slow, intentional movement that should typify all of your Pilates practice. So there is the lift and lower. Common things which go wrong with this is not facilitating that pure dissociation of movement. What will tend to happen is when the leg gets to a certain point and a combination of weakness or reduction in range of available movement kicks in, the pelvis will kink, and it's characterized with a side bending of the lumbar spine, and that gap which was there has collapsed. So if you're not sure whether that's happening, or perhaps your bodily awareness isn't great in terms of sensing those sorts of things, place your hand on that pelvic ridge, on the top part of your body there, and as you come up, that point shouldn't move. If you sense that there's any movement, you know that you've exceeded the optimal range of movement for you, and you want to try to correct that. Alternatively, you could place your fingertips underneath. It will give you a little less stability, of course, because you've removed that base of support of the hand. But coming up, if you feel that your fingertips get squashed or borne down upon perhaps, then you know again that you've lost that neutral alignment in the lumbar spine, which we're seeking to keep going. Now, not only will that mean that you're strengthening the core supportive muscles of the spine, but you'll just be using the target muscles, which is the lateral sling, including the external obliques and the glutes and various other bits and pieces. So with your lift and lower, we're really focusing on that dissociation, and that really is one of the key principles you should have in the front of your mind during all your exercise. Now, the other thing that might tend to happen is you might be unable to dissociate the movement another way. And often because people are quite dominant in their anterior hip muscles, the hip flexors, and perhaps a little less keen or unable to utilize efficient control of the posterior hip muscles, a lot of people will do this exercise and lean backwards with their top hip and then end up in a position of flexion of the hip. So looking from above, instead of being in that kind of notional idea of being between two panes of glass, you'll end up leaning backwards with the back pocket and the front hip comes forwards, and then there'll be this big bend. That's something very much to avoid here. So imagine you're leaning against a wall, and you can then visualize sliding that heel up and down the wall. And that will really, hopefully, eliminate that problem. So too, just having that hand on top can sometimes be very helpful, because you can get a better sense of whether there's any movement. If the hand or elbow moves, or you sense any rocking through the torso, try and correct that and get that dissociation of movement to really get the best emphasis for your lift and lower. Now, there are some nice modifications which can be done with the lift and lower. You could actually go against a wall. So as you're performing your exercise, sliding the heel up and down the wall can really give you that nice sensory feedback, that tactile feedback, whether you are executing the perfect movement. If you are able to, you can push gently back into the wall, so that as you're moving into what's called hip abduction, which the lift and lower focuses on, you'll also be extending the hip, pushing the hip back and getting that purchase in the wall. You can do that with a ball as well, where you can roll the ball up and down, and that can give you a really nice variation. One final technique, just to challenge your core a little bit more, which we've kind of covered by accident anyway already, is to remove the supporting hand. And just by placing that on the hip, you remove the base of support the hand is providing, and therefore give your core a little bit more to do. So with the lift and lower, it's taking some of the hip muscles through a nice range of movement, it's improving your bodily awareness, it's increasing the control through your lumbar-pelvic region. So it's a really nice combination, and it does target those lateral sling muscles, the lateral glutes, and the muscles above and below that. So for a number of reasons, it's a really good exercise to do, and gives you that nice variation in your mat work practice as well. It links in well to other side lying exercises, as I've talked about already, so look out for those in another video.